Hello, everyone. Welcome. Tonight is July 12th, 2017. I am Nika Smith, and I am not at my house tonight. I'm in another place. Now, if you were paying attention, you probably would know where that place is, but if not, you'll soon learn where I'm at and why it's important to you in your genealogy research. So until you find out where I am, let's go over our usual housekeeping rules for this 38th episode of BlackProGen Live. As we start tonight, just want to remind you, if you'd like to join the conversation that we're having, feel free to tweet us at BlackProGen. Also, if you have comments, feel free to tweet us with the hashtag BlackProGen. There may be something we talk about, something you have a question about, whatever it is, let us know, and we'll be checking Twitter periodically throughout the broadcast to see what you're talking about. Also, if you're watching live on a computer, there's a live chat taking place as the episode happens. Feel free to participate in that. If you're using the YouTube app on your mobile device, you can access the live chat at the bottom of the screen in the YouTube app, and we monitor comments and all that kind of stuff during the episode. So feel free, we love to hear viewer feedback and all that kind of stuff during the episode. So be sure to use the live chat option. So tonight's episode is about the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute. And you're probably like, where in the Midwest? Why the Midwest? How the Midwest? How does this relate to me? It does. And you're probably wondering, who's going to join me tonight? Because typically when we go to conferences, we have people that join us. And so I do have some guests with me in the room. We usually climb all in the bed together like a big happy family. But you'll find out in a second who's joining me tonight on this episode where we're broadcasting live from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Some more housekeeping too. Don't forget to subscribe to The Lowdown by BlackProGen. Get the latest and greatest from BlackProGen in your inbox. Subscribe to The Lowdown today. Check the description of the recording of this and any BlackProGen Live for the link to subscribe. As always, we want to remind you to be sure to check out our other episodes. We've got plenty of other episodes available. As I mentioned, tonight is episode 38. There are 37 other episodes of this show. Are you interested in Louisiana, Mississippi research? Maybe the slave narratives, free people of color? I could go on and on and on and on about the number of episodes and topics that we've covered. So there is a playlist of everything. So be sure to check it out following this show and make sure you get your fill of genealogy related information. All right. So for the evening, you want to guess who's joining me? Let's see. So let me unhook myself so I can join the other people who are here, who are joining us live, as well as in the room with me. Let me move the iPad. Hi! I know our little colorful group. I love how April's just in the back, kind of hiding herself. I know she's kind of chilling. So here I am here with Linda's iPad. Of course, I managed to inherit this. I'm not quite sure how I did that. But Linda Buck Sims is here with me from St. Louis, Missouri. April Branch is here from Memphis, Tennessee. And then we've got, you saw how quick I was in my hands. Find me a new iPad. Then we've got Yvette Portermore from sunny San Diego, California, and of course me, Nika Smith, from right outside of Memphis. I gotta center us because this is gonna drive me crazy if we're not centered. I'm sorry, it's the photographer in me. There we go. Much better. Awesome. So of course we also have someone who's in a similar but not actually in the same room. Willie, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Willie. I'm from Oakland, California.
All right, Willie's there, and we also have some chatters. Looks like the chat room is cracking off. I'm gonna check that out on my phone since I can't be with the computer and be over here at the same time. So we are live at the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute, and what is that? It's not a conference. Why is it not a conference?
Learning experience, and it's an institute. We go to class, we have homework, we have report outs. So it's not a conference.
It's not a conference. All right. Why is it also not a conference?
Oh, well, we work together on some of our projects, our case studies, and we have fun.
Why would you not consider it a conference? Of course,
Because
outside
we're
of the name.
Because we're working.
That's right.
And we're not just sitting there.
Hands-on.
Okay. So are you guys heavily experienced when it comes to genealogy conferences? How many have you been to? Or events? You've been to one.
I think I've been to 4.
Wow. Okay. What about you?
Maggie.
Really? So this is your only sort of like conference experience? Wow. Okay. So if you've been to others, that would be.
No, I take that back. Our chapter.
Okay, I was about to say your chapter does
Yeah,
have some
our
stuff. So if you've been to those, how does Maggie differ?
Oh, there's no accountability. That's number one.
That's
And
a good one.
You can go from one workshop to the other, going in and out. But when you're committed to the workshops or the classes that we're taking with the tracks, there is accountability. You have homework, and it's an intimate setting, and we just really learn more about our own ancestors and whatnot. So.
And the sessions are small, so you can get that almost one-on-one help.
Okay, so how many, in April, what would you say? I mean, with the one conference you've been to, how you've been, this is your second day. These are Maggie pros. Willie is a Maggie pro. What would you say is?
I think the hands-on part is what sets it apart. And with the instructors, you'll lecture for a minute, but we go into putting what you lectured into action. And that's the big difference between the conferences I've been to, or the one conference I've been to.
And Willie, you don't typically venture out very much, but you come to Maggie. I'm not saying you're a hermit in the house. That's not what I'm saying.
I've been to one other.
You don't go to a lot of genealogy events.
No.
So why do you come here? Especially as a millennial.
I guess because for the extra help, because at this conference you do get the hands-on help, and at other conferences it's like you're basically on your own. You get the material, then it's time for you to go, and then you have to put that to action, and sometimes that's hard to do by yourself.
It's like the presentation, so you slide to, okay, get out. It's big. But you know what? That's telling though for people who present, right? Because if you're presenting and your folks are thinking that you really aren't there to help them.
You know what else about this conference
or institute
is after we're done for the day, we meet in the lobby for a brick wall session. So how many teachers do you know that will meet with their students after class and sit there as long as it takes to help you break down a brick wall?
That's true. Yeah. Nobody.
Yeah. Well, so what tracks are you all involved in?
I'm doing pre and post emancipation.
I'm doing DNA
as well.
And I'm doing writing.
Writing. Okay. So since we've got some Maggie veterans, they're collecting pensions off of Maggie.
Yeah.
They're collecting a pension. What do you? So you guys have different lead people, right? So who have you all heard from since you've been here in your tracks?
Just for this trip or for the 5 years?
This particular one. Then we'll go into discussion about the other.
I forgot his first name, but his Mr. Brothers talked to us about military, World War I, World War II. It was. What I liked about that, he would go over information about those wars, World War I, the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, all the way up to the Korean War. And then we would break for questions he would put up there. We have to pick a person that he's already familiar with, but there's a list of names. We got 10 minutes to find whatever we can on that person and report out on it. Okay. So I love the hands-on.
Okay. What about you? Who have you heard from besides me?
Shannon Christmas and Bernice Bennett. And we are learning how to use the different tools, such as, what is it? GEDmatch, and some of the other ones. It's Ancestry, Genomate, and Family Tree DNA. So all the different browsers and whatnot, and how to connect and how to make spreadsheets. So, oh, and then the other thing we learned about is how to deal with the privacy issues.
Yes.
Do you think that was why was that a worthwhile discussion?
Because we're all going to encounter it if we haven't already.
Okay.
And some of us get excited about what we find, and then we want to post it on Facebook or post it on our blogs, and we put names out there, and we share too much sometimes, and we have to be very careful.
What you say it.
Yeah.
Well, and then some of us are managing other people's information, so we are entrusted with that.
True. Willie, take away.
We've heard from Anita Henderson, Janice Forte, and then you. And we've also heard from Beverly Jenkins, as well as Angela.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've been covering in there, Angela talked today about blogs, about how to turn your story into a blog, and then Beverly Jenkins talked to us about how to get your stories, basically how to write your story, how to get it out, just right. And then Anita taught us how to organize our research and prepare to write the book.
Okay, and chat room is actually cracking off right now. I want to give everybody a shout out because they're just flying through asking questions. Tyrone Craft wondered, and I think I'm answering this correctly. He said, who was the military presenter? And you said Mr. Brothers, right? We could probably give you a more succinct name, but I believe he's part of the African American Society here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And so we've got several people joining us. Denise Muhammad, who comes every single time we have this. She's like her and Tyrone is like, the minute we go live, they are there. Kristen Clegg is here. Clarice Mason. We've got Sharisa Moore. Angela is joining us in the chat room, which means that she didn't get her nachos quickly enough to be able to join us on camera. So yes, we are putting you on Front Street, Angela. Shannon's in the chat room as well. And of course, Teresa, who was experimenting with watching us on her Roku tonight. Oh, wow. So she'll have to let us know how it looked and how it transmitted, all that stuff. And then all the other viewers there, we see there are 26 of you who are watching us currently. So that's awesome. Thanks for joining. We're sitting here talking about the Midwest African American Genealogy Institute. So for me, as someone who is a speaker, the reason why I love this gathering is it really doesn't feel like a conference to me. It really feels like we're all holed up in somebody's house for 3 days and we're all working on our genealogy. And it's like, it's like serendipity that the right people get placed in the room who know exactly about the area that you're researching or have experience there, and they can talk to you and help you and guide you. Like earlier with the DNA match that April had, that she discovered that the match's child who graduated from high school with me.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Was one of my, we're alumni together. And when I saw the name, I was like, oh, I know exactly who that is. So, but moments like that happen at Maggie. So you all are veterans. How many times have you been?
5.
5.
Since its inception.
Right.
Since it started. Yes. Willie, how many times have you been? 3 or 4?
3.
He's been 3 times.
My 3rd year.
Why do you keep coming back?
Because I want the whole experience of learning something new and sharpening, because I am a family historian. And so I want to sharpen my skills as I continue to uncover things about my own family. So you can always learn from those who have done it before. You're going to pick up tips of things you haven't even considered before in your own research.
Why do you keep coming?
Because, you know what, I guess because I'm very busy and I've gotten a lot from this, the workshops and whatnot. So
concentrated.
Yeah. And I know that I'm going to learn something and retain it. So.
Okay. Willie?
Pretty much the same for me because I'm always interested in learning new things. And for the experience of just always getting the extra help, like one-on-one. Because if I never came to Mac, I would never be trying to write no book. So it has truly opened my eyes to a whole nother aspect of genealogy. So I'm
so he got stimulated in the writing sense, right? He I think it was possible for him to write a book, but he's got content. He learned that he's got enough content. Everybody's got enough content. It's just how you purpose it. By the way, Teresa says we look great on her television.
Thanks, Teresa.
FYI. Of course, there's a question here. We got a few members of the faculty in the chat room. I mentioned Shannon Christmas is there. Angela Walton Raji is there. I'm here, of course, as well. There's a person that came in. Valerie Lisk asked, "Are any of the Maggie sessions going to be recorded?" Nope.
That means you need to come.
That means you need to come. The reason why, and I can't speak for the planners. I'm sort of like not really like a planner, but I sort of am, I guess. The Maggie experience is unique because you have to be here. To me, I liken it to there are only certain records that you're going to find if you go on site to go and do research. They're not online. And even in an online environment, it still isn't the same as going to the location and being able to walk around where the people you're researching lived. And I'm a huge advocate for doing on-site research. And Maggie is one of those environments that you just really, if we're gonna mirror the way Maggie feels in person in an online environment, the only way you would do it would be a webinar where it was multi-days or multiple days, and there was homework, and you had to go in and get feedback, like a college level class, college level online class. So that's hard to replicate in the online environment, or even just streaming and watching it, because we don't, at least I can say, I've spoken, I think, in 2 or 3 tracks since the Institute has been happening. We often stop and start, so to make sure that even if 2 students in the class aren't picking up something, or they don't understand something, or it's not clear, that they get on the same page. And that we don't move forward as a group until everybody has an understanding, or we take time for those folks afterwards to make sure that they get the concept. And that's very hard to replicate in a streaming environment. Of course, Shannon, Angela, feel free to chime in. But Angela echoes. She says experiences like evening help sessions or breakout tasks make this more of a conference. More than a conference. And she said the instructors are teaching, not lecturing. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Right. It's not, did I get up there today and wag my finger?
And the other thing is that they share their own case studies and what they're looking for and whatnot, and how they went through the steps of finding some of their ancestors and whatnot. So you really get, so that they're still doing the same thing. And you're, learning from them.
So it's not so much like high level, I'm past this step.
Exactly. Oh, right. Because there's always something to uncover. So we all never just get there. It was always a level of continuous learning.
Absolutely.
And I also see an issue with privacy we were restrained because of today's discussion about ethics.
Yeah, you're right.
You're absolutely right. So April brings up a great point. There was a really, really good discussion about privacy and ethics and the emotional side of DNA in the DNA track. We didn't even we're missing a track because you all have named 3 of the 4 because you're in 3 of the 4, but we haven't listed them all out. So track 1 is fundamentals, right? Track 2 is DNA. Track 3 is pre and post emancipation, and then track 4 is the writing. Okay, so just so we're clear, we're talking about the different tracks. But in track 2, as April mentioned, there was a really long, great discussion about privacy and ethics, and people were given the opportunity to share stories or experiences that they've had with regard to DNA testing, perhaps maybe finding out that someone you administer a kit for has a parent that they didn't know about, or maybe their biological parent is, not who they grew up knowing was their father or mother, something like that. Or maybe uncovering, you know, for some families, finding out that they have European ancestors is a huge deal. They don't want anyone to know that. Or maybe unearthing that they have African ancestors, you know. Yeah. So that's hard to stream because there's privacy concerns. Mm-hmm. So I think
somebody put a child out there.
Exactly, like there's extraneous child that's there. Absolutely. Valerie says, "Oh, now I wish I'd gone when it was in St. Louis."
That was fun.
I know, poor Valerie. She had 3 years. But here's the benefit, because folks will probably wonder, why in the world would you move from St. Louis to Fort Wayne, Indiana? Well, the reason why is because there's one of the biggest genealogical libraries in the world here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yes, it's not the easiest to get to from Indianapolis. It's about 2.5-hour drive, and the airport is little. But for us as instructors, for you as students, can you explain the difference between why it's better to have it here than it is to have it in St. Louis?
I'm from St. Louis.
Exactly. So of course you can trip home tonight.
That's fun. No, I mean, I understand. It was great having it there. I didn't have travel expenses, but I also understand having it here in Fort Wayne, where you have, in the midst of the largest genealogy library on this side of the country, and it's centrally located, so it's in the Midwest, easy to get to, and so it's really good to be here. Like when I'm done for the day, I go straight to the library. So
absolutely. And what else? To me, I love the fact that you can actually really do project work here.
Right.
So if you're in track 1, which is the fundamentals course, or if you're in track 3, where you're learning about pre and post emancipation records, and you are learning about, like she mentioned, Mr. Brothers talking earlier about military records, you can actually leave that class and go into the library and go and research your veteran ancestors. When we were in St. Louis, we had a great facility, but there was no library associated with it.
Right.
So that meant no subscriptions, no thousands of books, no librarians as a resource, right? We had the instructors, which was a great resource, but it just changes things when you're in an environment that is built for, you know, for genealogy. What would you say in terms of the switch in location? Why?
I mean, for me, it was very personal, you know, when we were in St. Louis, because the fact that my father was raised and my uncle was raised in St. Louis, and the campus that we were at, both of them actually attended the school. It used to be Vashon High School. And so having that opportunity to connect my ancestry with that, you know, it was a great opportunity. And, you know, I was able to tour and do some other things. But, you know, being here in Fort Wayne is better because we have the library. And I think everybody's been saying that. So, but it's allowed me to, you know, look at some of the books and find out more information on my ancestors.
I was in the library till it closed last night.
Actually, a lot of people were.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
We are now closed.
Yeah, like right. They're like, oh, can you get out? Get out! Get out! No. Willie, would you think is like the biggest benefit of having it in Fort Wayne versus St. Louis? He was.
Yeah.
He was.
I'd have to say, being able to, after you have your class, go upstairs to the library and research. Mm-hmm. And that's been the most for me, because I've been able to actually find people who I think are slaveholders of my family in the library. So
that's nice.
Yeah, that was a big milestone of mine I'm trying to get past. And so I'm glad that I can be able to work on that while I'm here, also learning in the classes. So.
True. For me, I think like I said, the library is a huge draw, but also the overall experience, the fact that if you're staying at the hotel, you can actually walk to food,
right?
You know,
yeah,
or
true, yeah.
You know, like you have that available to you. That, you know, there's a downtown area. When we're coming here, there's a festival taking place every year, so you can go to Junk Food Alley, or you can You can listen to concerts. You can do. I mean, it's just to me, it's worth. If you're flying into Indianapolis, it's worth that 2.5-hour drive here. You know what I mean? I'm going to take that small plane that you may not want to take, like Miss Angela. The puddle jumpers. So moving forward, what do you all hope to get out of your last day? We've got 1 day of Maggie left.
Well, I've already prepared to do my homework. It's already done. We have to pose a question. We'll be broken up into 2 groups tomorrow in pre and post emancipation. We have a question, and then our group will put it on the screen. The group we're in will look at the questions we have, whatever brick wall or a question we're trying to answer about our research. And so the group will have an opportunity to give us input on different record sets we can look at, or maybe chime in on something we haven't thought about. After that, I'm hitting the library.
All right, what about you? What about you guys? What's your homework for tonight?
Our homework, and you can help me out on this, is to triangulate the genomes of 2 people. I'm going to use 2 people that I know, or myself and one of my matches that I know, so I can make sure I'm doing it right. And I can then take it and use it against someone that's not as familiar to me. Okay. I'm just like,
don't you guys all have privacy homework to do?
We do.
Your instructor's right here.
Yeah. I wrote it.
Is it the brown book?
Oh yeah, chapter 2.
Yeah. See, look at him trying to get out of homework. And and I don't know about any of the other tracks, but we making a prerequisite. You can't even come to the door until we see your homework. I'm kidding. We really don't do that.
They do.
We did today. It was hilarious. Because we wanted to make sure that people were clear on, we were talking about XDNA and what that, who that involves in your family. And if we're talking a conversation about it, you got to be clear, on where things are. So that's hilarious. So you all are Maggie pros at this point. April, you've survived your first experience. Will you be back?
I will.
I think and that's the thing, I always am going to champion Maggie, because I feel like if I had this when I first started doing genealogy research, I probably would have gotten farther much faster. Mm-hmm. Because, as a younger person, yes, we have genealogy societies and they have meetings and they have people who present. But to me, it just wasn't. As a community, we spend too much time expecting kudos for what we've done versus trying to teach people how to replicate it. So I've seen too many presentations where folks will get up in a meeting and the whole thing becomes, look what I found, so that people can pat you on the back. Versus, how did you get to that record? What methodology did you use? What did you learn during the process that you can transfer to other people? And I think that's what Maggie does, is that it removes that from the equation and really makes it so it's applicable to everybody. At least, the folks that are in attendance. And so that's one of the big reasons why I plug it, And, there are conferences that are taking place all over the place. But to me, if you're going to spend your money on hotel and food and travel, you want to get something out of it. And you might as well isolate it. I can't tell people how to spend their money. Although Tyrone Craft is right, Nika plus food equals, that's a good, bliss. You're right.
But I said, because speaking about what you just said, that's what Maggie taught me, actually. They taught me, because when I first started, I realized after coming to Maggie, I was just a name collector. I wasn't actually researching. So after taking track 1, I realized that I had to research even harder than just writing down names and putting it in a family tree. So it has really helped.
I can just imagine him in track 1. Shelly, let me tell you, there's a thing called the Maggie hangover. That's
And so
after day one, I kid you not, as an instructor, it is gold. I don't want to laugh in people's faces, but I really want to, because yeah, at the end of day one, some people are not because we're boring, but because they're just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They cannot. Other people are like, and I don't care what track it is. People get the Maggie hangover. They get a little rest. Next morning, like yeah. And then they temper their expectations, because you think you're gonna come in like Usain Bolt and win the 100 and not practice, and then you get in here and Shelly Murphy slays your ever-loving database down to pebbles, and you become a name collector. Not a family history.
Willie, you don't have 20,000 people in your tree, do you?
No, not yet.
Name selector. Nice. Boy. Oh my God. So the chat room is cracking off. Terry Ligon, who knows Terry Ligon? I was gonna say you have to know Terry Ligon. Terry Ligon is one of our genealogy buddies. He wanted to know, let's see, what did he ask? He said, what kind of follow-up does Maggie do with the student after it's over?
Well, one, I still keep up with all of them.
Right.
I mean, we're all friends on Facebook. And not only that, you still can reach out to them after Maggie if you have a question. They don't mind answering those questions or directing you where to go. So it's a continuous learning even after the institute ends for the week.
Okay. And we also have a Facebook group. That's what I mentioned.
Right, that's true.
That sort of holds people accountable. Like, you know, if I said I was going to start a blog and you all know that was what my end goal was, right, then you hold me accountable and say, hey, where's your blog? You know, and that's the other thing about Maggie, is that you don't walk out of here without a plan for something to do like afterwards. Like if you don't, I don't know where you were, but the average session or the average track is gonna have you do that.
I feel like the people that come to Maggie, if you're paying the money to come here to learn something, you're gonna get something out of it. Mm-hmm. People are not just, you know, you see some conferences you go to, and this is not a conference, but you go to a conference and people may go for the first day or so, and then they're off somewhere doing something else, or shopping, sightseeing. But with Maggie, when you come here, you're coming here with a purpose, and you fulfill that purpose. You don't want to go anywhere else.
True, because you don't have time.
You don't have time.
you get that library, like that's it. Like basically, like that's it. Diane Sheldon said, "Day one is no joke," with a whole bunch of exclamation marks. I mean that's the thing. We don't want to intimidate people, so they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to survive the first day." No, what we're saying is it's going to challenge how much you think you know. Yeah. But not in a bad way, not in a you're just a name collector. Nobody's gonna stand over you and do that. But I'm telling you, I'm using that from now on. So yeah. But with the principles, the tactics, the everything that's laid out, you know, today I walked in on Judy Russell giving a presentation about conflicting evidence and how to resolve that in your genealogy. And I don't hear presentations about that at society meetings. Not very, you might get on a webinar, but most societies are not having that as a topic. So, you know, how you do that, you know, and here's the other piece, and we really haven't touched on this. The fact that it is African American in its focus. Right. That's huge for us at FUBU.
Right. Yeah. For us, by us.
You know, it's huge in that when we talk about DNA, we're talking about the nuts and bolts, but we're also talking about it from the African American perspective, where it's multiracial, just like her, right? You know, or her,
like, oh,
right? Or all of us, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and the complexities of that, and what happens when you're communicating with matches and they don't think you're related because you're Black. You don't hear conversations like this at other, I mean, unless it's an event that's put on by somebody that you know, a people of color organization. But how to deal with that, being able to talk back with your lecture, you know, with your instructors, that's very important. Or you know, we usually only get maybe 4 classes at a conference, and then it's not a workshop format; it's a lecture. So that is something else. I think, I don't know how we missed that, but that's something else that's a very important part of Maggie. And I know, as somebody who focuses on DNA and teaching people DNA, there's no other program to teach you DNA.
Here's the other thing.
Like this.
Here's the other thing with the design and the setup of Maggie. You're not jumping around from class to class. Like when you're in high school, you go to first hour, second hour, fifth hour, and you're talking about a different subject. Well, you can get one track where you're concentrated on a topic and you go through the 3 days with that so you can learn and master that. So I like that format.
Karen Galloway was here last year. She was in the writing track.
Hello.
What were you? You were in writing? No.
Yeah.
What did you guys do last year?
I did DNA.
You did
I was
DNA.
in writing, wasn't I?
I think you were in writing.
No, I was in Shelley's class.
Yeah.
Were you in
I did DNA.
And then I did writing the year before that.
Oh, okay. So I know Karen was in. She's in the chat. She says, my classmates have really been an encouragement to me. I attended track number 4 writing, which was awesome. My classmates have blogs that inspire me. We've got Khalifa, who she came.
She was the first year.
She was the first year, and she's talking about how Maggie helped her. And she says, I remember barely making it to my bed and waking up at the crack of dawn, working to keep up. Oh my gosh.
That must be last night.
But it's true. But you're also in a community of people who are just as crazy about this as you are. So, you know, you can talk to them until you're like ready to go to bed because they get it, right? They understand, you know, it's like, gosh, nobody else gets me, but everybody here gets you, you know, for the most part.
I feel like we're a family.
Yeah,
A really close community, and we pretty much know each other.
And Judy Russell would also add the soul food lunch.
Oh gosh.
So it was hilarious. So if you follow Judy Russell, the legal genealogist, she normally does like a view from her office. Like that's something that she does just about every day on Facebook. But today her view was a plate of like fried chicken and greens and like something else, right? That was like her view. And somebody was like, gosh, I didn't know you ate like that, Judy, because you're slim. And she was like, oh, you're my best friend, as I like down this peach cobbler. Like that. But that is one of the selling points, is the soul food extravaganza that happens during lunchtime. They go to some place. I still haven't gone. This is the second year we've been to Fort Wayne. I haven't gone.
Oh, you missed out.
Oh.
That food was really good.
Hey, we rolled up out of there today.
So you guys actually got rolled.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Willie, did you go get the soul food lunch?
Oh yes.
For the record, Willie is like 10 pounds soaking wet. So I already know he went up into the soul food lunch and slayed and was in there still eating, which had still had chicken in his mouth there walking out.
No chicken.
Oh, okay.
He was sitting next to me.
I had 2 slices of cake though.
You didn't have any chicken. Oh my gosh. So yeah, Angela, let's see. Oh, okay. So people are talking about some of the folks that were in the brick wall session. They've joined us live. So they're chatting, hi, everybody, you're here with us.
I have to say, this brick wall session tonight is the largest it's ever
Ever
been.
been.
Yeah.
It was huge. There was a big round circle. If you're interested in what it looked like and what it sounded like, I actually did a Facebook Live from it tonight. So, and that's public, so you can go to my Facebook page and pull that up and look at it. And I just kind of went around and talked to people and asked them who they were going to ask a question about, and just kind of filmed Shelly doing her normal, so what? What does that mean? That was my Shelly. Shelly will have to tell me my impersonation. But so yeah, I mean, how many people? It was a solid 30 or 40 people. I want to say it was a big old group.
People were walking by, wondering what they're doing.
We're planning a meeting.
Right.
A lot of melanin in one corner. Oh my gosh. I know Karen asked me why would I miss the luncheon. I'm sorry. I come food and funerals. If you know anything about me and April's family, two very important things are food and funerals. I've mentioned this before. You don't botch either. So I'm a little protective when it comes to my soul food because there's certain things I'm used to, and I maybe next time. Okay, I'm here. We'll shake on it. I'll go next time. But I would be like, Lord, these greens. I forgot to do that. So, but I know you know how to cook well, so that's why I'm like, if Linda signed off, then I probably need to go. She rolled her way out. Oh my gosh, I know. So Angela says we are a family and look forward to the interaction with each other all the time, and that's very true. So we've got we can wrap up with final comments before we get to Ask Mariah, because we have an Ask Mariah tonight. We sure do.
Oh, okay.
We sure do. So since the normal panelists are not here, which Linda's a normal panelist, but Yvette joined us sometimes, and so does April. We do have to Ask Mariah tonight, so we'll get to that. Any final thoughts? Even those of you who are in the chat room who are here at Maggie, what's your elevator pitch for Maggie?
If you have not done Maggie and you're still researching your family, you need to consider coming to Maggie next year.
Absolutely. Anything you want to add?
Oh my goodness. I just think if you want some really solid, good education, when it comes to genealogy, you need to come join us. We have top professionals that teach these classes, and they care, and you leave with enough information so you can do your own research.
And they don't mind working with you.
Yeah.
Right.
What I like, because I'm was an engineering major in college, this reminds me of our study sessions. You could do all the work you can by yourself and, still be stuck on the same problem. But when you come together with people that are on similar problems or have been there, you can get your question answered better. And you'll probably understand it better than the teacher presented it to you or the textbook. So I like that camaraderie and everyone coming with different experiences and just pulling together to solve different problems.
Right? Well,
Okay. If you are struggling, or even if you're struggling, if you just need assistance with your research, this will be the place to come, because this will be the place to show you how to do it. Even for young people, I would recommend this place, because you're gonna get the assistance that you need. I don't know. That's basically what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no. You're gonna get the assistance the hands-on assistance that you need.
And the classes are designed small on purpose so that you can get pretty close to one-on-one.
And you know what? The instructors don't speak over your head. Like, you understand what they're saying. They explain everything very well.
I would also add, Angela is throwing out the dates for next year in the chat room. So if you are interested in coming to Maggie 2018, the dates are July 10th through the 12th, 2018. That's July 10th through the 12th, 2018. It's always a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday. It'll be right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Be sure, especially if you're interested in the DNA track, to get into that early. We closed it off at 14 people. And the reason why we did that was because we wanted to make sure that the folks who were attending were going to be able to get the assistance and the hands-on stuff that they deserve to have. So some of the other tracks have more people, like I think pre and post emancipation, you guys have got like 20, 25 people. Yeah, it's quite a few people. If you're interested in coming and you're not sure which track to participate in, I always suggest to folks to try track one. Just start with that, because then that way, if you decide you want to move into DNA, or if you want to move into pre and post, I mean, if folks, I think, are taking it in my opinion, in sort of like a chronological fashion, you would do track 1, the fundamentals basically, and then you'd go to pre and post emancipation, and then you'd go to either writing or DNA, depending on what your focus is. So if you're not sure, I would even if you think that you have been researching for 25 years and you know everything, I've seen people who have done that and were bawling, crying at the end of day 1 because they felt like a name collector.
Yeah, they bust my bubble in year 1.
Respect, like I'm a name collector.
We had to start all over.
And for me, like, you know what Maggie does? Maggie literally comes in, like, you got this bridge you made. You were like, yeah, that's my bridge. And you cross the bridge and go to the other side. And we say, no. And it just falls down.
Yeah, like naming a database you never heard of.
Exactly. Like the bridge just comes down, and we have dynamite on the other side. Like you made the bridge, you constructed it, you sawed all the logs off it. I mean, you got everything just set. And then you come on the other side, we're like, hey, baby. And then Miss Shelley's there with the big thing with TNT, and she takes it and goes, wow. And it just goes. But we help you put it back together because we've got engineers here, the specifications, and the reason why your logs were not together, your joints weren't together the way that they were supposed to be to make a stable structure, right? Exactly, right? You thought you put it in there correctly, but then when you went back and looked at it, it was horrible, and somebody could have driven across and fell off. So literally, we are here to blow your bridge up and help you put it back together. Right. All right. So that's it for now. We got a few minutes to get into Ask Mariah. I'm going to look. I don't know who you are. Voicemail. I am going to see if there's any other questions. Let's see. Khalifa says, Maggie is a clearinghouse for your research and training in African ancestry genealogy. Never thought I used the word clearinghouse. But thank you, Jerome Smith said, thank you all for sharing your perspectives about Maggie. And yes, thank you. They're not going anywhere because we still have an Ask Mariah. So let me get over here. I'm gonna turn the camera off on you all so you can hear the case for tonight. Ask Mariah is something that we do every single episode of BlackProGen Live. And I'm going to go ahead and get all set up here so you all can see my screen. I love how they're over here whispering. So Ask Mariah. What is Ask Mariah? Ask Mariah is where you can send us your questions, queries, conundrums, anything that is bothering the mess out of you, something you need to blow your bridge up, but you're not quite sure how to do it or how to put it back together again. And our panel weighs in on how they can assist you with whatever information you need. And the brick wall sessions we talked about that happen at Maggie are very similar to what happens on Ask Mariah. Only there's more people in the room, right? And there's more voices. So this is where we help you, the public, with your genealogy research. All right, tonight's Ask Mariah is from Sharissa Moore. I hope I'm saying that right, maybe Sharissa. Sharissa is asking a question about her father's side of the family, which is out of Hintonville, Perry County, Mississippi. She says, I'm stuck knowing if my father's side of the family from Hintonville, Perry County, Mississippi, is related to the other families, Hinton, McSwain, Holloman, and McCrae in Hintonville. I would really like to know a clearer story of our family in order to show my grandmother, who is still alive, as well as my father. This would make him so happy. He knows little about his family. So to read through that again, Sharissa says, I am stuck knowing if my father's side of the family is from Hintonville, Perry County, Mississippi, is related to other families, being Hinton, McSwain, Holloman, and McCrae in Hintonville. I would really like to know a clear story of our family in order to show my grandmother, who was still alive, as well as my father. And she says it would make him happy to know the information. Now, moving on to what she knows. She's got oral history. They have a town named after them. And she has heard it is called Hintonville, Mississippi. It had 4 plantations and or farm owners in Perry County. She is aware there are Caucasian, African-American, and mixed descendants of all 4 families in Perry County. She is testing some groups, but not testing others. But it seems that we share relatives. She shows no DNA connection so far. So to review that again, she's got oral history about a town named Hintonville, Mississippi. There were 4 plantations and or farm owners in Perry County, which is where this was allegedly located. She is aware that there are Caucasian, African, African-American, and mixed descendants of all 4 families, being the families we just talked about, the McCrays, Hollemans, Hintons, and I forget the other surname. And she's testing some groups, but not testing others. That raised a red flag for me. Whoever's in the DNA track is probably thinking the same thing. But it seems that she shares relatives, but she shows no DNA connection so far. Next slide. What she's done, she's located in 1910, 1930, 1940 census. Her family, her grandmother's name is Pearl McSwain. That was the other surname, I forgot. So her mom is Lena McSwain, dad is Anguish McSwain, grandfather is Luke Moore, mom is Polly Hinton, and then dad would be R.C. Moore. So we've got 3 census records, we've got the names of ancestors, and the conundrum in this case is how do we connect the surnames, which I'll go back to that slide so everybody can see that, which are Hinton, McSwain, Holloman, and McCray, to Hintonville, Perry County, Mississippi, and whether or not these families are interrelated. So don't all jump in at one time.
We're all like,
I know they're all comfortable. All right, so the chat room is cracking off a little bit. They are suggesting joining and contacting local historical society first. For me, something that stands out about this, let me just move back over here now that I can sit down, is why she chose not to test everybody. Because here's the thing. I'm not 40 yet, but close. But my great-great-grandparents were slaves. Now, depending on how the generations fall in a particular family, some of these folks that may be taking tests that she may be selecting may be so far removed from those relationships till they won't exhibit any DNA. So that's why if you're going to conduct a study, you got to be kind of smart in how you choose the folks to do those tests. The other thing is, Hinton stands out to me because I have a photography buddy that has that last name, spelled exactly the same, but she lives in Arkansas. So Sharissa, I don't want to pronounce it incorrectly, reach out to me. I'll connect you to my friend who actually has that last name spelled exactly the same, because of course Mississippi and Arkansas are not that far away from each other. Anything else you guys are, she's looking up information.
Hintonville is outside of Hattiesburg.
Okay, so that's further south.
East of Hattiesburg.
Right here.
Yeah, so Perry County, and the other thing is, do we know the county history? Right? Because Perry County may be a newer county. In fact, I think it is. Has anybody looked that up to see when it was created and whether or not Hintonville was in another location prior to?
Jones County is like that movie, Free State of Jones. It's in that area.
Okay. So that would be a suggestion.
It's a little history she might.
It's a little history, Free State of Jones and what happened in Jones County. We can look up, let's see. Any other suggestions?
I would also search the census records a few pages ahead and behind to see if there are other people named.
Yeah.
I would recommend searching the whole census
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
Yeah, from page 1 to whatever page it is.
In that enumeration district?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Check the surrounding counties.
And so her biggest, to me, the biggest part of her question was trying to connect that McSwain, Hinton, those families together. And one of the ways to do that is, of course, you're going to look for vital records, right? Because here's the conundrum. I'm sorry, but you're in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Willie knows this. April knows this. Yvette knows this. Let me tell you a little secret. They don't have a whole lot online, at least not like they do in Louisiana or Tennessee, which Tennessee has amazing records online, vital records. I mean, you can pull a death certificate for free 99, right? Yeah. Mississippi, wow. Where do you got to go get your death certificates?
Well, you have to go. You can order the death certificates from vital records past 1943. Or you can look at the Mississippi Index and order them. They are on microfilm.
But where do you go to see the index? Where's the index list?
Well, I went to the library.
Which library?
I went to the library in my hometown. But you can also go to Jackson, Mississippi, State Archives. But a lot of the records are from Mississippi is going to be at the county seat. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get them from Jackson. You'll get some things from Jackson, but the meaty records are at the county seat.
Okay. So from what I understand, I'm trying to think, there is no death index for Mississippi online, is there?
No, not online.
That's the point I was making.
Yeah, not online.
Sorry. Unfortunately, all of us can understand your plight. But I think the tie between these families is going to be through vital records. Mm-hmm. So you're talking death certificates, right? Which could include the names of the parents of the deceased and or the informant, right? Could include these names. Marriage licenses, depending on the year that they were created, can have the names of the parents, the witnesses, right? That can circumstantially tie people together. Also, other vital records, birth records, but typically we don't rely on those because those are really a 20th century invention, and not everyone has those. Deeds, that's something else that I'm really thinking about would be key here, especially if she mentioned the 4 plantations, right? Finding out which one of the Hintons, the McSwains, whatever those et al. Names are, who owned those plantations and how did the ownership change after Reconstruction? Were they chopped up into multiple families? How were those people that purchased that land connected to those original families? Were they former slaves?
Right.
What?
Wills.
Probate records, which that stuff is online. Okay, you can get access to probate records for the state of Mississippi through Family Search for free, or if you have an Ancestry membership. Now, here's the thing. The stuff, you looked at me like you didn't know that.
No, I was just.
Oh, okay. Now, the thing about the Ancestry records is that people think that all of the probate records that are on Ancestry, regardless of the state, are indexed. They are not. Let me repeat that again. They did a huge records dump of probate records for several states. It looks like all the records are indexed. They are not. What that means is you need to go through manually browse through the microfilm that they have and look for an index that corresponds to a particular book. And I got through that 18-year brick wall, not because I was hoping for an indexed record, because I actually combed through the microfilm like I would if I was at a machine. So they do have those probate records for Mississippi. Those are available on Ancestry and they are on Family Search. Looking into a county history and finding out who founded Hintonville and how those families have intermarried. And then, of course, thus perhaps the former slaves may have intermarried as well.
I would also consider checking the libraries in that county or universities to see who has information in books in their library. So there's different universities in Mississippi. Jackson State,
Tougaloo, that's got, that have a more of an African American focus. And I also wouldn't leave out, is considering where this area is, New Orleans.
Right.
and their repositories in terms of like colleges that may have papers and collections and stuff like that. Also checking the card catalog with the Mississippi State Archives to see if they've got stuff. Khalifa mentions that there is a McSwain-Hinton family page that is Mississippi-based that she found off of Google. So I would wonder if Sharissa has contacted those folks. We can't assume she has, and maybe we don't know what the response may have been.
And as I just learned, even with my own family, don't rule out going back to the old crank and wheel, sound decks, looking at the census records, because everything is not on Ancestry. I found that out with one line of my family.
Okay, and so apparently these seem to be people with melanin. Khalifa writes, there's a small narrative as Joseph tells the family history. The family, as he knows it, came about as the plantation owner fathered a set of children with a slave named Phoebe. There's an interesting lead. Google Books.
Yeah.
I'd look at that. Internet Archive. Anything else from anyone else in the chat room? Newspapers, that's what I was going to say. Research that. Use Chronicling America.
Chronicling America is, Mississippi are getting more and more newspapers added to Chronicling America.
Okay, and I also have to shout out newspapers.com because that's been a huge, I wasn't sure, I wasn't finding anything, and then recently it went completely down on newspapers.com.
I have to give them another try.
But also researching the papers that were in existence in that area, using that, because see, people think Chronicling America, they just think about the digital papers. They don't think about the actual newspaper database that's on there that tells you which newspapers existed from year to year in a particular county or city. And it tells you where the microfilm of those newspapers is as well.
I would also add the slave narratives.
Yes.
And don't just look for slave narratives in Mississippi, because I found one where a former slave, not my family, but she was owned by the same slave owner, and she was describing what life was like living with that slave owner. She was in the house as a servant. So that record was in Arkansas. And I just happened to stumble up on it. So look at where they migrate, where a lot of the people migrated to.
True. Yeah. Which is possible. I mean, with my friend with the last name Hinton, and they ended up in Little Rock. Maybe that's where some of them went to Little Rock. Angela brings up a great point, mentions Genealogy Bank. Of course, I love Genealogy Bank. That's an awesome resource. And also ProQuest historical newspapers. You can check that out. I'm trying to think, especially with that, maybe Baltimore Afro-American, Chicago Defender, see if Hintonville is mentioned. Maybe even looking at the Jet and Ebony archives on Google Books to see if Hintonville is ever mentioned. And if they maybe did a profile on the community because they knew, people knew this rich history there. That could be there as well. Anything else anyone can think of before we wrap up? No? All right, well, Sharissa, whichever it is, let us know if any of the suggestions that we gave you will help you get further in your research. We hope you give. Yeah, we didn't even they see Mr. Brothers.
That all morning.
That Maggie or track 3 rubbed off on Linda. Military records, especially this is great. I'm so glad you didn't forget about that, because if you can find a Civil War pensioner who got a pension and lived in that particular area, or that you can identify that you're pretty sure, order the file, they can actually detail how the families are intertwined. So look for a soldier in your family. Or his widow, absolutely. And of course, you're getting the pension card along with the Civil War service file. So you have to work those two things. That's a great suggestion. You know what? Also, World War I draft cards, because they list next of kin. So that could potentially make some ties go together there. Freedmen's Bureau, absolutely. Freedmen's Bureau also is a great suggestion, looking at labor contracts. Really, here's the other thing about the Freedmen's Bureau. I think everyone forgets, same thing, just as I mentioned with the probate records, not every piece of the Freedmen's Bureau on Family Search is indexed. A lot of it is not. It's just digitized. You have to browse through it. So learn where that area was in terms of the Freedmen's Bureau, what was the closest field office, what if the jurisdiction changed or not. Where my family was from, at one point it was under Tennessee, one point it was under Mississippi, and then it was under Louisiana. And that didn't start until 1866 with it being under Louisiana. So that was a whole, 2 years of it being under other records.
Right.
You know, so find out where the nearest field office was and, you know, and what was going on down there with the Freedmen's Bureau records, but that would be a great start as well. Anything else? You're getting some good suggestions. Oh, she's in the chat room. Thank you for all your suggestions. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and we all want to hear feedback. Khalifa's definitely said, I'm interested to hear feedback or updates from those who asked Mariah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
test those people that you didn't test.
Yeah, and please, I know, you know what, as I mentioned earlier, how much money did I say you really have to spend in order for you?
$500-600?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People think DNA tests are a $100 investment. No.
But you catch sales too.
You do. Like yesterday, Prime Day.
Yeah.
Prime Day
And
was a great day.
23andMe is still on sale.
23andMe is still on sale. So definitely consider that, you know, if you need to get kits for cheaper, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so keep us posted. And before we go black, anybody want to say anything? Really? Any feedback? No.
I gotta do my little plug in for
For TSU.
Oh, TSU.
I'm so glad I went to TSU. Which I didn't, but I went to the Southern Heritage Classic and I sat next to the band and I had to hear that 50 times for the whole game. So she's a tiger. She is a tiger. So all right, well, let me go back to my seat because we've got some more announcements. You guys wave bye-bye before I shut you down. All right, so if you are interested in participating in Ask Mariah, or you have a question or something you feel that we can help you with when it comes to your genealogy research, feel free to check the description of this and every single BlackProGen Live recording of our episodes, and you'll have the opportunity to submit, and hopefully you will be featured. So we hope, Sharissa, we hope you gathered something from this session, and be sure to share your findings with us. Want to remind you quickly, our next episode is not until Tuesday, July 25th. We'll be talking about people of color communities in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio. People of color communities thrive on social and community interaction, learn about the history of religious, fraternal, benevolent groups, whatever we can think of when it comes to people of color in those particular locations. Ironically, we're in Indiana right now. Also, we've got other shows coming up. Bernice Bennett's research at the National Archives and Beyond, Blog Talk Radio. The next episode is taking place Thursday, July 20th. She'll be talking with Leontine Clay Peck about a story from Piedmont, West Virginia to the Virginia Piedmont. Also, Angela Walton Raji has got the next iteration of the African Roots podcast that's coming out this Friday, July 14th. And as always, you can join our Genia Bud Dear Myrtle on Mondays and Wednesdays for Mondays with Myrt and Wacky Wednesday. Also, don't forget to sign up for the Lowdown by BlackProGen. Get the latest and greatest on from BlackProGen in your inbox. Subscribe to the Lowdown today. Check the description of this recording and any recording of BlackProGen Live for the link to sign up. And also, join the conversation. We're on Twitter. We tweet pretty much every day. We've got a lot of different content stuff that goes out. So be sure to follow us at BlackProGen or tweet us at BlackProGen, and also hashtag your comments, news, anything else that's going on regarding African-American or people of color genealogy with the hashtag BlackProGen. So we are so glad that you joined us. We're glad to be broadcasting from Maggie. This has been an awesome experience, as it always is. We want to give a shout out to our chatters, our consistent people like Tyrone Craft, Khalifa, Denise Muhammad. We also had Sharissa, who joined us. Thank you so much for your query. Angela Walton Raji. We also had Terry Ligon, who posed an interesting question about oral history in the chat room. Shannon Christmas, Valerie Lisk, all these folks, many people who joined us tonight for tonight's episode. We are so glad that you joined us. Don't forget to join us again on Tuesday, July 25th for people of color in the Midwest, of course, those many locations. And in the meantime, have a great weekend and enjoy your summer. We'll see you soon. Bye.